This episode is brought to you by the Patient Advocate Program. Are you tired of not having support between your rehab sessions? Introducing the Patient Advocate Program, and we're focused on your recovery, and we're offering you 24/7 access to a doctorate of physical therapy. Stop waiting in line to be seen and stop spending hours doing long exercise programs. Imagine being able to get all of your care delivered straight to your phone. Best of all, it's affordable. We believe everyone deserves top-notch relief without breaking the bank. So why wait? Take control of your health today and visit ptpatientadvocate.com and book your free call with our experts. This is the Fix Your Sciatica podcast.
And we're back. Today we're going to be talking about specifically acupuncture and its role in managing sciatica pain, or some of the causes of sciatica pain. Now, I've had multiple acupuncturists interviewed on this podcast, but just like every physical therapist, every provider will have their own flavor and approach. And today's guest is going to be a particularly special guest because she has had extensive experience working with patients of all walks of life. But one of the things that was particularly interesting to me was her approach specifically to a lot of the tension and the way that we do manage pain. Just before this episode, I did receive some treatment from her. She pushed and pulled on me, figured out what was going on, and I was experiencing a little bit of tightness and some discomfort in my back, but she treated my face. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that is like. Today on the show, we have Dr. Deborah Ma, acupuncturist extraordinaire. Dr. Debbie, thank you so much for being on the episode.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. So, I'm Debbie Ma. I just moved all the way from Beijing to San Francisco. I worked in hospitals there for a couple of years, and I treat all different kinds of pain. And so today you asked me about like sciatica pain. I do have lots of patients coming for that, and
we'll walk through it step by step, just so that you listeners don't have to get worried about like getting overwhelmed. We'll break it down to each segment. But for the listeners, also, Dr. Debbie, you actually just opened up a clinic in San Francisco, right? So tell us a little bit more about that. We're going to also put the details into the show notes for you listeners who are living in the San Francisco area, how to get in touch with her as well. So let's start off with your clinic.
So the clinic is in Mission. It's called Puzzle Acupuncture because we thought like we're solving puzzles and probably we're the missing puzzle that you need to find, and we're just trying to solve everything. Although I say I solve everything, it's probably you think that most of my patients are with pain conditions or like women's health, and but today we're going to talk about pain management, and that's we're going to focus on.
Yeah, and what really got me intrigued about your clinic was this concept of a puzzle. Because the reality is that when we are dealing with pain, or even just like any health condition, is that we have to have a process that allows us to really find the root cause or figure out what's going on. And I wish that there were true certainties in medicine, but specifically in the pain management sphere, it's particularly focused on the human experience. What are you experiencing as a patient? And although your pain presentation in regards to the location of the pain can be similar to the person sitting right next to you, they might actually be experiencing the pain a little different or respond differently to the same interventions. And so that's why it's so important to work with a provider who is not just saying, oh, you have sciatica pain, do X, Y, and Z, but also really reassess and figure out the effectiveness of said activity, so then that way they know that they are providing the best option for you. So let's talk about the acupuncture itself. I think a lot of people have a misconception, or they just don't know that much about acupuncture. So from the 1,000-foot view, tell us a little bit more about acupuncture. How do acupuncturists view the human body, and how does that tie into the modalities and treatment methods that you provide for your patients?
Okay, so when we think about pain and what we do with TCM, we need to know about if it's like what type of pain it is. It's like more dull pain or it's a sharp pain. Of course, probably in Western medicine, you think of it's either it's in a nerve level or it's like a muscle tension. But in TCM, we also think about that, but also by knowing, like, if it's a sharp pain, it's like a stabbing pain, it's all different for us. Or it's like a burning pain, it could be caused by either hot or heat inside the body, or it's cold. Like, we think that when the body is cold, the circulation is bad, then it's more like, because of the circulation is not going smoothly, or the chi is not going smoothly, then it's more like stuck there, and you're having like the more of a dull pain. Or when you using a heating pad, you feel much relaxed and comfortable. Or else, like with some kind of pain, if you use like heating pad, it could be more like a like inflammation type of pain. Then we don't use heat. We need, like, for acute kind of pain, like you got an injury, of course you use ice at the beginning, and that's like you need to cool down we need to stop the circulation, we need to cool down the area with inflammation. So with TCM, we need to see, like, we need to differentiate which type of pain. And what acupuncturists do is we either use like the meridians, like, okay, you might have pain in the arm, and this goes to which meridian, and we use which acupoints. But like right now, what I do is like different types of acupuncture, which doesn't really fall into the traditional way, and we work in different types of condition. Like we focus on stopping the pain from, like you said in the beginning, I used the cheek acupuncture. That's more of controlling the nerve system, and that will control everything from the body.
Very cool. So in essence, it's this concept of the flow of energy, and trying to understand like the constitution of the person that you're dealing with. So trying to really meet the patient in regards to what they're deficient in, or what they're excessive in. And I fell in love with acupuncture probably about we'll say 8 years ago. I remember when I'm Chinese, and so growing up in Chinese medicine, I never actually was a patient of acupuncture, but I remember my mother and my family members who were going through it. And what was really interesting at the time was that they were going through acupuncture for pain, but they recognized that it didn't really help much. And so getting that information or hearing that experience, and then going into physical therapy school, and at the time physical therapy school was like back in 2008, the research for acupuncture from a pain management standpoint wasn't very big, just because there wasn't that much research into it. So me graduating from physical therapy school and being a professional, a lot of patients would actually ask me, oh, is acupuncture worth it? And at the time, I will say, no, it really, the research is inconclusive. And because of the research being so inconclusive, I was hesitant about recommending it. But then as I got a little bit more into my practice, I said, you know what? There's this civilization that's been practicing acupuncture for like 2,000, thousands of years. Like there's got to be something to it. And so I did my own research, became a patient of a local acupuncturist, and it was such a fantastic experience. And I think a large part of it is like, number one, the intention, but then also number two, how does this tie into the Western medicine part of it? And so looking back, it was like the concept of chi, this energy flow. In Western medicine, or what we're taught out here in the States, is the energy flow is what would be considered kind of like neurotransmitters, or the electrical impulses that move along those lines. And once I was able to connect the two, I'm 100% bought in, which I think is particularly important, because it's impactful to have multiple supportive people on your team. And so I'm very thankful for someone like you providing the care that you are. So let's talk about the sciatic nerve, like sciatica pain, the majority, or even just like chronic. Let's do pain in general. That's going to be the first stage, and then we'll break it down, and I'll prompt you a little bit more about sciatica pain itself. When someone's coming to you and they're like, I've been in pain for such a long period of time, what are some of the things that you are looking for specifically that helps you make the decision, I'm going to be working on the face, I'm going to be working on the abdomen? Tell us a little bit more about your thought process.
Well, like I said before, it really depends on which type of pain. If it's more like from an injury or yeah, if it's like a more physical kind of pain, like I mean, like it's not internal pain like abdominal pain, then we'll think more like for women could be like menstrual cramp, or for indigestion kind of cramp. Then we think of like internal medicine stuff. If it's like just like shoulder or hip or low back pain, and we'll see like what the lifestyle is. Does he or she goes working out, and then if it's like muscle tension or previous injury, then we'll look into how the muscle tissues are, and how, like a little bit like what you do as like a physical examination, feeling where the tensions are. And also we also still do like the traditional tongue and paws examination, just to check like the internal chi, or how the energy is, is there like anything related to like emotion. This will also be into consideration, and then from there we'll see what I should do.
Yeah. Good. And I appreciate you sharing that process, because listeners, as you know, you go on Google and search, what are the best exercises for said pain, for sciatica pain. You're going to be finding a lot of different exercises and stretches. And so those exercise in general is beneficial for pain. But the reality is that when you have an active, specific set of pain, there are going to be specific actions that are going to allow you to feel better. And so it is important to be able to not necessarily just the exercises themselves, but choosing the right exercise or the right stretch at the right time. And that's what it's very similar like in acupuncture, where you are getting your necessary information, and then from there being able to say, all right, I'm going to address X, Y, and Z. And just before we started recording, you took me through one of your evaluations, which I thought was really cool. So you checked my pulse, you looked at my tongue, and then you were asking if there were any sort of aches and pains or like sensations that I was experiencing. And I was having some tightness in my back. And then what you did a really good job kind of pressing around and just like recognizing that there was in fact some tension. And so when the way I perceived it was that you were just like looking for some tension, and you were kind of like asking why the tension was there. Let's talk a little bit more about the link of where maybe the pain that you're experiencing in one area is not necessarily just in that area. It could be something as strange as your face. So let's talk a little bit more about the link between the cheek and the core of what you were looking at specifically for me.
Okay, so like right now I'm more focusing on using the cheek acupuncture, and it's a different type of acupuncture it's like reflexology. We have the different holographic map underneath the feet, and this is another map on the face. So on top, this area is the head, and then we have the neck here, the shoulders here, the arm and the hand coming up here, and then like the torso is here, the hip is at just by the jaw, and then the legs, and then up here is the feet. So by pressing along from the spine all the way down, I'm just trying to see if there's like if you have like tension, or you have somewhere it's more tenderness, and that's more linked to all these points. And also like pressing on the spine, because that's where all our nerve comes out, and to the nerves, and then to the hand. So we need to find like which, for example, for the chest, like which like on the, it's like C3 or C4 is connected to these areas, to the hand, and then we need to differentiate like which vertebrae or which nerve goes to which area. And so for that, it gives me like it's like a mapping system. So it tells me like where should I put the needles at. And by touching on your abdomen, it's more of feeling the chi inside the body. And so there's a different set of needles across the cheek, like with patients having digestion issues or a more chronic condition. We'll test on the stomach and then see if there's like any tension, or it's like more bloated, or like if it's like some people having like really weakness, like the chi, the energy is low, their belly will be like really soggy. It's like really soft. And some people having, if they're like more nervous or they're very intense, their stomach will be very hard. So those cases will also affect your whole body. So we need to, one is not to just release the tension of the pain but also to regulate the internal, like the chi flow inside the body, and that connects to different organ system. So that's pretty much what we do on the cheek acupuncture.
Very cool. And so listeners, what's interesting and what I appreciate about Dr. Ma is that asking a lot of additional questions outside of the actual ache and pain that you're actually feeling. And so in the physical therapy world, we call that associated symptoms, where no detail is too minute. So Dr. Ma is like, tell us a little bit more about your digestion. And digestion itself also incorporates like, how do you feel after you eat? But then also the sensitive one is called bowel movements, right? Bowel movements, urination, like all those things. That information is particularly interesting from the physical therapy standpoint, because just like you were talking about, where if you're having digestion issues, you could be perhaps creating a lot of tension in your stomach from the pelvic floor function, which in this clinic as well, there's a pelvic floor therapist. But even if you're having trouble passing a bowel movement, you're having a lot of gas, that could be telling us that there's a lot of excessive tension in some part of your body. Yeah. When you have a lot of excessive tension, it can all lead to a whole bunch of other issues. And so this is a really good time to remind you listeners that no detail is too minute. And if you are having something that is also somewhat not normal to like the average person, don't hesitate to bring it up. And even though it's normal for you and you've been experiencing this for years, pain itself is also not a normal response when you're experiencing it for a multitude of years. My question for you is, because you have that distribution of the human body on the face, it got me thinking in, we call in the pain science standpoint, we'll call it central sensitization, where like a part of our brain actually is represented of different parts of our body. It's our frontal cortex or somatosensory cortex. They call it the homunculus, and it's really funny because you can tell that different parts of your brain are represented of different parts of your body. So from your experience, like that representation on the face, is the representation on the face related to the body? Is it so because they are connected via the spinal cord, or is it connected via the brain and energy flow? Did you learn a little bit about that?
I think from the classes I took, they did mention about that. That was part of their the whole theory about it. And also like they go back into when we were just like a fetus and how our development is. So with different layers of I don't know how to say that in English, but with the different layers, like when from the embryo into a fetus, like the
nervous system,
the development of the fetus, there's like different stages.
Fetus, it's like the embryo.
Maybe. Yeah, from the embryo, but then as it developed from like 2 cells, 8 cells, and then as it grow bigger, it connects to like different layers of our nerve system. Okay. I forgot I don't really know the English name of it, but
what is it in Chinese?
So it's like 中胚层, it's like, it's just the
That's okay.
But I believe like what you said with the it connects with our brain and like different areas of it. Yeah. So this set of acupoints was invented like 30 something years ago, And it was discovered from another professor, and he's also Chinese, but he lives in France. So he started, because with this kind of system in Chinese medicine is very common. You find like I said, with the reflexology, we have like the ear acupuncture, and so with different parts of it, it connects to like our body, our nerves. So he just discovered like he was treating someone with TMJ, and he used a needle here, but then it also healed the patient's sciatica pain.
Oh wow, cool.
So it was just by the jaw.
Yeah.
And he found like, because after a couple of treatments, the patient came in and said, my sciatica pain was gone. So probably next time, if you have a patient that having that condition, you can like kind of tell him to massage around here.
Cool.
Or like you can use like a toothpick, just kind of give it some pricks.
Yeah.
That could probably like release the tension.
Very cool.
Instead of just, if they can't come see
Yeah.
me, they can do it by themselves. So from that, he started to like go through like different areas and finding like connecting all the dots, and then found this map.
Okay.
And then like trying to trace back like what the whole theory is.
That's
and
cool.
then he found out, okay, not only it connects to like the muscles, the nerves, but it connects to like a whole organ system inside, the chi and everything.
Wow.
And yeah.
Very cool. So, listeners, this is kind of very similar to, which then inspires me to get another guest on this podcast. But there's this whole there's this whole group, they call it PRI, the Posture Restoration Institute. And they do a lot when it comes to jaw clenching and just like mouth orientation. And so, what's particularly interesting about that is, again, it reiterates the fact that everything is connected, and it is important for us to take a step back and see what's linked up and how it actually works. For the listeners out there, when it comes to the actual implementation of the needles, right? Because I think people get a little nervous about needles.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what that like typical process is? Like, should people expect a lot of pain? Is there a lot of blood? Like, let's talk about what the needle insertion experience is like.
Okay, so, well, like I said, because I'm more focused on the face, so the needles I use are extremely thin. It's thinner than most of the needles they use on the body. And usually because it's just on the face, it doesn't go very deep, not like in the muscle area. Like in the shoulders, they probably will stick the whole needle probably this deep, or like in the hip, they can go into like this deep. But the needles that I just use on you, it just goes in like 1 or 2 millimeter or less, just like very surface. And then from what you feel, did you feel any?
I felt some pressure. I think initially I felt like an initial prick, an initial zap. And so, which then like with that, I know that people can have some anxiety about receiving needles, right? Mm-hmm. And so is it something where the more relaxed you are, the less stimulating it can be? Like, tell us a little bit more about like another big thing that I really appreciate about your practice is the integration of the nervous system. And the nervous system, listeners, is your brain. It's pretty much your nervous system is at work, especially when you're dealing with pain, because it's an experience. So on a nervous system standpoint, like tell us a little bit more about how our mood, the anxiousness or like the relaxation can influence the sensations that we feel.
I think, yeah, of course, the more relaxed you are, you will feel less pain. Like, just imagine when you're all clenched up and then just like a balloon that it's all like round and you just pop it, it's gonna explode. So it's like you feel like when your body is really tense, and it's usually you feel like much sensitive, and then it's more painful. But like for the patients that are I do have lots of first experienced patient that came for acupuncture, and they're always like nervous, and it's like, oh, I never had it in my face, especially when people think that it's gonna be on the face, it might be even more painful, but actually it's not, because I'll guide you. I'll probably press around before I do the insertion, so you won't feel as intense or like, unlike in the body, like even for me being doing acupuncture for so long, having people poke needles in me, I do also sometimes a bit nervous, especially in the body, because I know what's going to happen. Sometimes with some acupuncturists, they'll manipulate on the needles a bit more, just to, like in TCM we want to say for De Qi, it's like for the energy flow to go even better. But sometimes with that kind of sensation, it makes patients even scared to come for the second treatment.
Yeah.
So that is something that I usually try to avoid too. But also at the same time, they still have the benefits from acupuncture. And it doesn't mean that using more manipulation or you feel more intense from the needles makes it more powerful. I think it comes down to having the patients to want to come again, and having that relaxation is much beneficial than
would you say with acupuncture, is it like in the realm of pain management, is it more of a focus to relax things, or more of a way to stimulate things, or equal both stimulation and relaxation?
Well, for the stimulation, it's more of, if we're doing something for like internal medicine, like we want to boost the energy up for the blood or the qi, or like especially like for infertility, for example, where we need to help the kidney energy to be fired up and up and running and all that. We need to stimulate some certain points just to help the energy flow. But for like more relaxing is like calming the nerves down. For some people having stress, insomnia, then we need to calm the nerves down a bit. Then we'll use different methods or different points to calm that down. So it really depends on which kind of patients we're facing, and then what we do is like what's benefit for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad that you say that, because I think a lot of people think, all right, well, when we kind of fall into this dichotomy of relaxation or stimulation, we can either be like heavily excessive on relaxation or heavily excessive on stimulation. And it is important for us to have the optimal balance, as you were talking about, like the qi balance, but recognizing what those signs are in regards to, do you need to be more stimulated, or do you need to be more relaxed and down-regulated? It's important. So I know that for me as a physical therapist, when I'm evaluating a patient, I'm actually evaluating them the moment that I meet them. It's like, what's their energy like? How are they speaking? How are they walking? You were talking about, remind us again of the main things that you look for. I think you said it was pulse, tongue, and what were some of the other things that you're looking at?
Yeah, the pulse and tongue, it's like it relates to the energy that connects to our digestion, not digestion, the whole different organ system. And besides that, if it's more like pain conditions, and we'll feel around like which muscles is intense. Like you said, my leg, this side is more like a medium rare, the other side is like a well done, and that's what we also feel on the patients, like which muscle is more intense, which is like, then we'll decide like what to do and how to help that to relax.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, it's important, listeners, for you to recognize that the person that you're working with is looking for specific information for them to actually determine what is going to be the best route. And unfortunately, I wish that we all had the same, like all the time in the world, but we aren't necessarily going to be able to find all the answers within the first visit. And usually I know that for me, when you're working with myself or the team here at iFix Sciatica, or even my physical therapy clinic, you want to give yourself at least 1 to 3 visits to get a better idea of what's going on. Especially when you've been dealing with pain for such a long period of time. And then I usually recommend for every month that you've been away from a specific activity, that is going to be a week that it's going to take for you to get back into activity. So if you've been experiencing pain for a whole year, once you get your pain under control, you should be expecting yourself to get back to 100% within 12 weeks. Let's talk about timeline of healing and restoration from your perspective as an acupuncturist.
So pretty much similar to what you do. Also, you need some time for the healer to heal you. That's definitely correct. And like with acupuncture, most people have time, like limited time during the week. So if it's more of an acute condition, we will recommend them to come like twice a week, if possible. If not, once a week. But at least the least minimum is like once a week for the first couple of weeks. And if it's more of the chronic condition, also like depends on the scale of the pain or condition. We will give like also the time is from a week. And then if it's like much better, like twice a week or once a week, once a month, coming for some maintenance. And for addition, if they need some like home remedy, what they need to do at home, we'll teach them like something to like using some heating pads, or if they can cook some herbal tea, or not really herbal tea. Some could be like food remedies that they could do at home that's easily to do. And yeah, that's usually what we will help our patients. And yeah, it's probably like that.
Very cool. Yeah, and so it certainly is a process, and I think what's important when you are dealing with pain, that you are working with someone who is in the business of caring for you. So listeners, this is going to be either when you're working with like a physical therapist or acupuncture, you should be on the same page as your provider, as the person that you're working with. So then that way, what there's research has shown is that the more on board you are with the current treatment plan, the higher likelihood that it's going to be successful. If you're going in thinking that it's not going to work, most likely it's not going to work, not because the technique isn't useful, but you're going in already with the attitude that it's not going to be helpful. So at any point in time, whether you're working with me, a different physical therapist, or anyone that you're working with, it is important to vocalize and share with them that whatever they're providing for you does make sense. Now, it's not going to even be just like, if you feel like you're being hoodwinked, please tell them, right? But I think what's important is that you should feel as if you're being heard and being cared for. And when we were going through this demo session together, you were listening very intently on what I was experiencing, looking around and really making it so that you got the necessary information to make me feel better. And so today we were talking about like the role of acupuncture, and especially when it comes to pain. We were talking a little bit more about the muscular tension, how it's also often associated with the cheek, which was so eye-opening, so new. For the listeners out there who are in San Francisco and are looking for someone to take care of them from a different angle, right? Tell us a little bit more about your clinic, where to find you, and how people can get in touch.
Okay, so my clinic is in Mission. It's called Puzzle Acupuncture, and it's down in lower Mission. So it's like, where are we? It's in Valencia, like 26 in Valencia. And just kind of find us. We're in a cute neighborhood, I think.
It's very cute. Yeah, very cute. Tell us about your website, because that's where people can get in touch with you, right?
You can find us on puzzlesf.com, and we also do podcast and YouTube. Like, it's called Puzzle Exchange, and we invite different practitioners talking about different health conditions, how people heal things with different perspective. So yeah, just come see me.
Great.
And I was gonna, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ma. Yeah, this was really insightful. Huge fan of the work that you do. And so for the listeners, if you did not get a chance to write that down, I'm going to put all the contact information into the show notes. And so, yeah, Dr. Ma, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ashley. It's a great honor.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you got some help from today's podcast. And for more info, check us out at ifixyoursciatica.com. Have a fantastic and pain-free day. No patient-therapist relationship is formed by listening to this podcast. We are not providing medical advice, and all information should be confirmed by a medical provider.